Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome to the first battle of the 1920s Battleship Tournament. Today we're going to be looking at France versus Spain. The battle is going to be fought on a cleared morning day. It is going to be a battle that starts at 20,000 meter range. It's a 3v3 between a couple of AI controlled ships. I'll be spectating, I'll be commentating, and I'll be showing you exactly how this battle is going to go down. Let's have a look and see which one of these two nations wins the first round. Alright, here we go. It is Richelieu, Teebonator and Bretagne versus the Spanish group. The starting range, slightly over 20 kilometers. There's always some random factor as to how the AI places their ships down. The French, long range fire, 14.9 inch guns, long barrels, 55 caliber. They have a reload of 91 seconds, but a very, very good reach, and an accurate one at that. They're already looking at about 6%, 4%. It's not too bad for the first salvo. The Spanish also are in range. They have guns which aren't as drafty as the ones that the French have. They're at maximum range, but at least they can return the favor. They can return fire. When it comes to these Spanish warships, they're fighting back with 14-inch guns. They don't have the same range, but they do have a lot better reload. They also have more barrels. They have 8 barrels per ship, giving them a total of 24 barrels for the whole task force. The French, by contrast, only carry 6 barrels per ship, so they only have 18. Meaning that the loss of a ship is gonna hit potentially harder for the French. They do, however, have a lot of 7-inch casemates. And these 7-inch casemates have a very respectable range of 15.1 with AP and 12.3 with HE. They are capable of setting fires with a pretty high amount of confidence. We got high capacity HE shells. And capped ballistic on the AP means that at this range, they're pretty likely to be able to... capped ballistic. They're pretty likely to be able to pen the deck of the enemy ships. At shorter ranges, they should be able to pen any amount of armor, although angling in this game is definitely something that the ships really benefit from when it comes to their longevity. It looks like the Spanish are trying to close in a bit. I'm not sure if the AI of the French ships understands, I don't believe it will, understands that it might be more beneficial for the French to fight from range. Even though the French have a ton of armor, if I have a gun range advantage and I don't specifically build a brawler, I would probably want to stay at a healthy range, making sure that I don't take hits. Because the French crews aren't as well trained as the Spanish, but they do have the advantage of their longer barrels. They also need more time to get the same amount of damage in, because they just don't fire the same number of shells. Well, no, you can make the case both ways. They don't fire as many shells, but they fire them more accurately. We're looking at about 8% accuracy from the French ships. 7.5. Oh, did they switch targets? Yeah, they might have switched targets. So far, they're trading fire, and the French have drawn first blood with the Spanish. The second Spanish ship has taken a scratch, seemingly didn't even start a fire, so it shouldn't really be an issue for these ships just yet. The range has now been closed to 18.6. You can see that these French warships have so much armor that it is not very likely for the Spanish to be able to do much. Even the French deck armor is very, very tough at 13 inches plus 142% armor quality. So you got so much armor on there that the deck, at least the main deck, is going to be hard to pen. But the fore and aft are not. As you can see from the diagram, fore and aft deck are fair game. And the superstructure, there is, well, it is possible, I guess, to armor up the superstructure this much, but it is not very likely. Now, the Spanish have something that the French might not enjoy. Ooh, hit, destroyed a casemate gun. The Spanish have torpedo launchers. This is the only ship that is taking part in this first tournament that has torpedo launchers. They only hit to 6.3 kilometer range, but I've seen quite a few ships on the other side let's say the other contestants that is, that are not prepared to take torpedo hits. The French is one of such designs. The French don't have a hydrophone, they got a single hull bottom, and they have no torpedo blister. With a budget of only 200 million, you had to make something happen. You had to make some sacrifices in order to reach that budget, in order to adhere to that constraint. This could potentially make the French ships vulnerable to torpedo attack. And so far, the French have already done 1300 damage, and the Spanish have nothing to show for it. They haven't even hit... Oh, they haven't even hit the French once. Well, that's just about changed. Teebonator has taken a hit, and as such, has suffered minor damage and stability, but really not that bad. We're looking at a 1.9% decrease. Oh, a couple of ricochets on one of the Spanish ships. The Spanish ships are definitely getting more dangerous as they get closer. Bow and stern belts are now getting to be vulnerable for the French. And up until the point where I actually have full ID, well, that's right about now, I can tell you how much chance the French have to pen their Spanish counterparts. It's, well, probably due to the angling. There's an average ricochet chance, and it looks like the Spanish ships are turning starboard, so that's about to get worse. They can pen the bow, more or less, but they got a pretty high chance of, even with all this armor-piercing potential, still ricocheting off the target. 51.4 inches of armor. Well, it might still not be enough. Teebonator just took a few more hits. It's now 1.5k for the French, 1k for the Spanish. And there's the Espana. The Espana hitting with 35 or 39% confidence. 34 for the French, 25 and 35. That's actually surprising, considering the fact that these ships have the longer barrels. The Espana class has 42 caliber. The French have 55 caliber. Now, the French reload is pretty bad. It's 91 seconds. Contrast that to the Spanish. The Spanish have a reload of 51 seconds. And the Spanish also have another advantage in this department. The Spanish have a standard crew complement. This means that even if you take some damage, your ships won't immediately start to suffer from it. The French have no such luxury. The French have crimped crew quarters, meaning any crew loss is immediately going to get translated into some effect for the rest of your ship. I.e., Teebonator, with a reduced crew, now has reduced control. Her ability to control damage has been reduced. Her reload, not yet suffering, but it's pretty much only a matter of time until even the main guns start to feel the impact of not having a full crew complement. The range is now 10-4, so the Spanish are approaching the torpedo range. For now, it seems like these guys are just going to be duking it out, ship of the line style. Whether that is going to maintain the advantage for the French, I have no idea. Because the French warships, well, they got that very hefty belt armor. Is that enough? I don't know. Because these Spanish 14-inch guns are no joke. And of course the Spanish can also still rely on simply not really caring about their ability to pen, and just set so many fires that the French are going to lose a whole bunch of crew. And as such getting, well, still a mission kill on the target. Look, Teebonator, she's already taken 18.4% crew losses. Bretagne 0, Richelieu 0. 4.9% there, 5.5 there, 0% on the Gallo Indiano. So the Spanish ships seem fine. Did the French just change their target? No, it's just the secondaries. It's the primaries that are still very much trained. Actually, no, they're switching fire. All ships from the French are switching fire to the San Pedro Apostol. I wonder if they're going to be able to pen that. They got a pretty decent chance to hit. Pretty decent chance to pen. They can get a couple of floodings on this ship. Yeah, they got one flooding. They destroyed a main gun! The C turret, oh sorry, the X turret on the Apostol is gone. That is a 25% reduction in firepower of the San Pedro Apostol, at least with her primaries. Don't discard these 5-inchers. They might not look dangerous, but like I mentioned, crew loss is a very serious threat for the French. Oh, main tower has been damaged on the Richelieu. So far, it looks like the Spanish... Ooh, Ricochet are just shrugging off the incoming 14.9-inch shells from the French. And the French keep switching targets. That's not very good for your accuracy. And guns this big, they don't really like to switch that often, because you're going to have to rotate them. And you're going to have to, of course, build your accuracy back up. It looks like the Richelieu is now the focal point of the French fleet. A destroyed casemate leads to some additional crew loss. The French are, I'd say, pretty evenly tied with the Spanish for now. Well, actually, I think the Spanish have done a bit more damage now. Yeah, we're looking at 4.9k. Torpedo range 6.3. They're definitely encroaching on the French here. They also got the 5.5s. That is... Well... No, they should already be in 5-inch range. There we go. 9% crew loss on Richelieu, 18.7 on Teebonator, 0 on Bretagne. She has not yet been engaged. Her range is 7.1. She only has a 22% chance to pen. That's surprising. Contrast that by 8%. The Spanish are fighting at 6, let's say 7.5 kilometer range. 44 inches of armor pen is still not sufficient to reliably pen the French warships. At least not the belt. The superstructure, of course, is a valid target and is taking some damage. So even the Bretagne now has taken some damage. Range 6.5. Ooh, couple of hits on the Bretagne, but she shrugged off most of it. It looks like the Spanish ships are just a bit angled. Potentially not enough. If I'm reading this correctly, the main belt is now exposed. But what are you guys aiming at? Okay, you're aiming at the San Pedro. Interesting. 41% chance to hit here. Oh, that's a good hit from the French. There's flooding on the San Pedro. But it doesn't seem that bad. The San Pedro has lost a lot of crew though. We're looking at 16% loss. The other one, 5.5, and the Gallo has lost nobody yet. Range, 5.4. The torpedoes on these ships are fast, 57 knots. That does make them more detectable. Whether the French will be able to respond in time, I don't know. We're gonna have to see how these guys decide to play with the torpedoes. And keep in mind that torpedoes are a potential weak spot. They can take... well, they can be taken out pretty easily. Good lord, the French are really taking a kicking now. Bretagne flooding and also having her structural integrity reduced to 47%. Gallo Indiano, so far, basically unscathed. It looks like it could be going this... well, actually no, the French ships are turning. Couple more hits, another flooding on the Bretagne. The French are going to have to focus on one ship if they still want to have a chance of winning this. Destroyed another main gun. Interesting. The main turrets on these Spanish warships are not heavily armored, or at least not heavily enough. And because of that, they have lost 2 turrets, one on the Espana and one on the San Pedro. Is that going to save the French? I mean, it does knock out a bit of their ammo, but they still got plenty of that left. If the Spanish would get a flash fire, that would be more serious. 17 crew loss there, 18, 20% on the Bretagne. Ooh, that's not very good. They now have a reload of 93, a reload of 93, and a reload of 99 seconds on Richelieu. Yikes. The Spanish ships, by contrast, they're basically not really taking that much damage to their crew. And their reload is still very much intact, as is their control. Their ability to get their damage fixed seems fine. And it really feels like the French are struggling to get any kind of damage in against the Spanish. Every now and then one of these shells causes a flooding. And the Spanish damage control parties swiftly deal with it. Ooh, Bretagne is just getting hammered here. The French have very, very little to show for it. And it looks like the buoyancy issue is going to sink the first ship. The Bretagne is going to get knocked out. There she goes. So the Spanish have taken out one of the French warships. That's a hefty blow to the French. That's a third of their firepower mitigated. And the Spanish don't really seem, well, hurt. Yeah, I mean, the San Pedro Apostol has taken some damage, but she's otherwise fine. The Espana taken some damage, flooding perfectly fine. Well, I mean, that's under control. Gallo Indiano has taken a few hits, but really nothing worthy. And if these guys are going to start throwing torps, it's going to get very, very quickly, very, very badly for the French. But for some reason, they're not yet throwing out their torps. They are definitely aiming the torps, but I think the angle might be wrong, because the torpedoes have such a narrow arc on these underwater tubes that it's going to be pretty difficult to get them to actually launch. Some decent damage against the Gallo. But like I said, the AI needs to focus their fire on one ship, not spread it out. Teebonator down to 73% buoyancy and 70% structural. 20% crew loss, 25% here. San Pedro looking at 20, 17 and 3. The French are firing... Yeah, they're firing AP shells. I doubt that's going to have enough punch. It's 5 kilometers out. They can punch through 13 inches of armor. Which does, of course, make the Spanish superstructure fair game. But anything else doesn't really care about your 7-inch gun. If these were firing HE, it would be worse. It would be far more dangerous. Oh, we got a torpedo launch. I cannot track the torpedo because there's no spectator mode. So I'm just spectating as if I am playing the French, but they're under AI control. Uh-oh. That could be bad. Teebonator. Teebonator's going to get hit. Are we looking at a dud or a live one? Live one. 2,357 damage. Serious flooding on 3 compartments of the Teebonator. Which doesn't really help her survivability odds, because she's already lost 22% of her crew. Her buoyancy is probably salvageable. But this was just one torpedo. And the Spanish can do this again and again and again. They got torpedo launchers, bow, port, and starboard. No stern. So you don't have to worry about them actually attacking you as they're turning away. But then again, they seem far more interested in closing the distance. And just hammering the French with these 14-inch guns. What's going on with your 14-inch guns, though? Are we going to... Really? The Spanish ships have just ceased fire. They've been affected by some bug. This is such horseshit. Like, they got the... Like, right now, I don't know what to do. Genuinely don't know what to do, because on the one hand, this is the tournament, and this is the attempt of the French versus the Spanish. This is that battle. I don't want to have to redo the battle because of a bug. At the same time, this is the game as well. And if I get a do-over for the French, then perhaps we're going to see a different outcome. But this is... Like, I don't know how to get these Spanish ships to open up again, because I'm not controlling them. Oh, never mind. They woke up again. Or at least the Espana did. Causing some damage to the Teebonator and causing another bit of flooding. She's down to 40% buoyancy. Gallo Indiano is still, I don't know. playing poker instead of actually using their guns. That's not going to hit anything, Teebonator. Now keep in mind that a damaged ship, depending on how it's actually angled, like how much flooding has been taken by one side or the other, it might not be able to train all of its guns onto a target, because right now the French guns appear to be aimed down too much. At some point, depending on how much angling you have, how much listing, you might not be able to fire at all. Destroy the funnel. I don't really think that that's going to be issues for the Spanish. San Pedro taking some fire. They've destroyed a torpedo launcher. Or a torpedo. Partial pen only. You got away nicely there. And once again, the gunbug strikes the Spanish. Ooh. Oh boy. That was not just some turret that got destroyed, that was a flash fire. Meaning that even if the gunbug was resolved in the Espana, she doesn't have any ammo. All of her ammo went up with that flash fire. That's really bad news for the Espana, because with this level of armament, it's essentially a destroyer. It now has 5-inch guns and torpedo launchers. It just has a lot more armor than your average destroyer does. But she's not out of this fight. Those 5-inch guns, with HE, can still cause crew loss on the French ships. And the torpedo launchers, you cannot discard the torpedo launchers. They're so dangerous. The French ships barely have any speed left. We're looking at 10 knots here. The Spanish ships are doing 19, 17 and 19 knots. The Espana had a perfect opportunity to launch a torpedo. But I think the Espana is doing the formation switch, where she's trying to fall back into the formation, so that other ships can take her spot as the lead ship. Teebonator down to 37% buoyancy, missing another shot at point blank ranges 2.5 kilometers out. Portside launcher from the Espana, perhaps? Nope, nothing. Some more damage on the Richelieu. Oh, torpedo launcher got destroyed. No, sorry, torpedo got destroyed. Oof. More damage to the main tower. 28% crew loss in Teebonator. She's once again fighting her flooding and her reload. Well, it's 95 seconds. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. 103 seconds for Richelieu. Oh, look at that. The Teebonator fired her 14.9ers at the Gallo, and the Gallo just shrugged everything off. Oh, Richelieu is going to take... No! The Richelieu also shrugged off the Spanish shells. These guys are almost impervious to each other. But I think it's going to be the combination of crew loss for the French that will do them in. We've got a little bit of flooding here. There's also the risk of snowballing, because once you have lost a ship, it gets progressively worse. Because, oh boy. Once you've lost a ship, it gets progressively worse. You don't have the DPS, and they're going to start kicking more and more of their ships, or your ships, out of the fight. Another torpedo hit on Teebonator. And she's gone. Teebonator is down. This is a second kill for the Spanish. And now it's pretty much a done deal. The San Pedro Apostol, if she has a bow launcher available... And she does not. The bow launcher's been destroyed. If she has a bow launcher available, she could have launched a torpedo with Richelieu. Portside torpedo launcher. Starboard launcher's been destroyed. Only the portside launcher is still active. And the San Pedro might be angling to get that into position, while also giving her 14.9, sorry, her 14-inch guns even better chances of penning the target at just 1.8 kilometer range. But the turrets do seem to struggle to keep up with the target. Yeah, the ship is turning faster than the turrets can, and because of that, the turrets can't actually be used right now. Even though they got a 95% chance to hit. Richelieu fighting for her life at 36.8% crew loss. Oh, you're lucky they didn't launch a torpedo at you, dude. 1.9 clicks. Port launcher available. Starboard launcher available in the Espana, but no joy. Flooding on the Richelieu. Crew loss 37%. The Spanish crew loss is significant at about 27%, but nothing so deadly just yet. Torpedo incoming on the Richelieu. She has a lot of flooding. She's not going to be able to get out of the way. Nope, the torpedo just slightly angled, but this one isn't. And slams into the French ship, doing 2600 damage and causing flooding on the bows. Crew loss now up to 39%. Yeah, the Spanish absolutely have it in the bag. 41 on the French ship crew loss. It's just a matter of time until this thing floods and sinks. Another torpedo launched from the Espana. 3% buoyancy, 2, 1. And it is GG for the French. And GG for the Spanish. The Spanish not taking any losses. Not taking any losses. The French did not get a whole lot to show for this. So the first point, the first victory, goes to the Spanish. And with that victory, France moves down to the losers bracket. Again, they can still come back from this, depending on how well they do against whoever loses round 2, which is going to be the UK versus Germany. Spain, next encountering Italy, coming up in a future video. For now, I hope you guys enjoyed this battle. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. And I really look forward to seeing what you think of the tournament as a whole. It's the first time I'm running one of these. It's the first time I'm commenting on battles as such. So very much looking forward and appreciating your feedback. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the battle. And I'll see you soon for the next.